Hello guys, welcome to another episode of r/loseit. My name is George, and today I present to you habits I've noticed from my naturally skinny friends. First off, they're not just naturally skinny. I know metabolisms vary, but most of my naturally skinny friends have some habits that vary a lot from my own right now. These are habits that I unintentionally had up until 1 year ago when I put on some weight. Back then my BMI was 20, now it's 22.5. I'm not trying to offend anyone. I think many of these people who we assume are effortlessly thin actually have daily routines that help them stay in shape without constantly thinking about dieting or food. It keeps them from yo-yoing in weight. These are just some things that I've observed. They only eat when they're hungry. If they wake up in the morning and they aren't hungry, they have just a yogurt for breakfast or skip it altogether. Just because it's a meal time doesn't mean it's time to eat. Say lunchtime comes but they're not hungry, then no need to eat. Dinner comes and you're barely hungry, just a soup. If you're starving, yep, have a big bowl of pasta. They eat in moderation. Basically, they know when to stop. I always finish everything on my plate and then feel overwhelmingly full afterwards. At some point in their meals, they just stop eating and pour the rest of it into a Tupperware for tomorrow. When I was thin naturally, I'd eat till I was comfortably full, around 2/3 of a Chipotle burrito bowl, and save the rest. Now, I sit there and finish the entire thing until I'm super full and then feel guilty about it afterward. Many of them get grossed out or sickened if they eat unhealthy or eat too much unhealthy meals in a row. They tend to just be more active people, even when it comes to little things. I don't mean that they're always gym rats. I mean, they opt for the stairs whenever available. Restaurant is a mile away, let's walk. Lots of water or low zero calorie drinks throughout the day, like water, tea, with no sugar of course, and seltzer. For me, noticing these things has helped me realize that I'm not just unlucky, it's that I've let myself fall into bad habits like snacking on calorie-dense foods and overeating. It's so easy for me to point my finger at a naturally skinny person and almost blame them, but that's not reasonable or fair to them. Most likely, they're making subconscious healthy decisions and then they indulge when they want to. I can limit myself when I think hard about it and focus, but it always feels like torture because it's always a diet or a fast. For them, it's just a matter of eating in their normal pattern. Yes, this is so true. It amazes me sometimes that people can just walk past some candy or junk food and just not eat it. Edit. Lots of comments about lack of self-control. I am aware. I grew up in what was basically poverty, and I never got treats or restaurant food. So on the rare occasion I did get junk food, I would binge, even as a little kid. I'm trying hard to rewire the ways I think about food, and a lot of that is reminding myself that no matter what, I have access to food, and it isn't going to be taken away from me. It's been so interesting hearing everyone's stories and attitudes towards food. Definitely lots of really cool insights. It takes my sister-in-law 4 days to eat a Kit Kat. She eats 1 stick a day with a cup of tea because that's all she wants. She cannot fathom eating a whole chocolate bar at once because it's too sweet. I always thought she could eat whatever she wants and not gain weight. Now I know that's not true. She can eat whatever she wants, not whatever I want. She wants 1 Kit Kat stick. I want the whole Kit Kat, plus maybe a crunch because that's also my favorite, and the store has them on sale for $2 for $3, and I can't pass up a sale, so I'll get them both and eat 1 today and 1 tomorrow, and oh shit, I ate them both. 4 days to eat a Kit Kat? I've never heard such nonsense. I'm like you. Oh, they're 2 for $3, so I guess I better get 2 and eat 1 in the car and the other when I get home. My ex-husband is like that. He will buy a candy bar, open it, take a bite out of it, and put it on the fridge. The next day, he will take another bite, and so on. I had never seen anyone do this before. I can only eat the whole thing. No putting it back. I bought a package of all pink Starburst about 3 weeks ago. I just finished it today. I would eat like 5 some days, other days I would forget I even had them even though they were on my desk. I'm the same as you. I'll eat the whole thing, and depending on what's going on, I'll probably be plotting how I can justify eating another one. My mother was exactly like your ex-husband, and I just can't relate. Oh yeah, I'll poach someone else's candy if I can find a way. I can't relate either. My brain will fall out of my skull if I try. Yeah, I regularly buy the square hazelnut bars from Trader Joe's, 1 for my boyfriend and 1 for me. He eats his in all 1 sitting, and mine will still be there nibbled on for a whole week. I think there's something in my mind, especially with sweets, where I just want to taste, and because it tastes so good, I want to save it so I can have a little bit each day. If you eat it all at once, it's gone, and that just makes me sad. Not if you buy a new one every day. That's me now. I scaled back on sugar intake and I notice now that a lot of stuff is too sweet for me. Last week, I bought a white chocolate Hershey's bar with almonds just because it sounded good. I still haven't finished it. I just take a small bite or two with coffee and put it back in the fridge. However, iced tea is my enemy and I can easily consume 1,000 calories of it in an hour. I can take or leave any junk food, but if you put some Coca-Cola in front of me, I'll drink it. It's my only weakness. It's what I live on at work. I love junk food, but Coke is my bae. I'll never give it up. I have worked it into my eating plan, otherwise I would never stick to it. Try the Lipton Southern Style Sweet Tea. Same great taste, 0 calories. My husband and I switched to it a while back because he is a sugar monster. We do brew it at double strength though, otherwise it can taste kinda weak. Make tea, don't add sugar, add ice, or forget about it and remember it when it's already cold. Bam, 0 calorie tea, just like any other real tea. Drinking liquids for entertainment will give you lots of water retention weight. You shouldn't be drinking past the point where you're no longer thirsty in the first place. I'm always thirsty. I drink a lot of water too. I just love iced tea. I drink a lot of regular no sugar tea, but that Snapple or Arizona hit different. I buy a 72% dark chocolate bar and break it into its 18 little squares. That'll last me a week and a half usually. I do the same, but I go for the super dark stuff like 85%. 2 squares after lunch with coffee is all I want, but it's enough to churn off the switch that makes me want 5 brownies around 3. I'm one of the naturally lightweight people as a guy, and I've been this way my whole life. You're right on it coming down to not having sugary foods in the house. Last Sunday was the first time I've ever bought an ice cream in 3 years. The last time I made a dessert was at least 2 years ago. I drink water during the day, eat specifically portioned meals, and do perfectly fine. Finding things which takes a while to process in your stomach also helps. Laziness is my secret weapon. If it's not in the house, I have to 1. Get up, 2. Get dressed, 3. Get into the car, 4. Deal with asshole other drivers, 5. Get to the store, 6. Find a parking spot, 7. Go inside, 8. Find snacks, 9. Pay, 10. Drive home. That's like 10 steps too many for my lazy ass. For me, fasting helps me pass up the candy or junk food. Same. I've noticed if I start fasting after dinner, skip breakfast, and make lunch my first meal, the rest of the day is just easier cravings wise. I found it hard to start fasting after dinner because I would always want something sweet. It wasn't until I started having sparkling water after dinner that I was able to kick my dessert habit. I really like sparkling water, but if you have it with anything sweet, it makes it taste like crap since the water is slightly bitter. So when I started having cravings for something sweet, I drink the seltzer and tell myself when I finished it, I could have dessert. By the time I finished it, I never wanted dessert. I was the same way with needing something sweet after dinner. It's just how I grew up. What really helped me is eating dessert before dinner. I know this sounds counterproductive, but hear me out. I got used to dinner being the last thing I ate every day. Then, when I didn't eat dessert right before dinner, I still didn't want it after. I gave up sugar a couple of years ago. Then things became easier. More and more people are going that route. We have people rotating into the office due to coronavirus, and the amount of people who won't eat a Girl Scout cookies is insane. They leave them in the department break room, and there were 30 plus boxes unopened there as of Tuesday when I was in last. I do this intermittently. To be honest, I'm one of the naturally skinny people in the OP talks about. I generally have pretty healthy eating habits, but sometimes I go overboard on sweets. So I'll give up sugar entirely for a month or two to lose the 5 to 10 pounds I gained and get back to normal. I feel way better when I'm not eating sugar versus when I'm eating a ton of it. If I can manage to eat it in a moderation, a sweet treat a few times a week, then I also feel fine. But the sugar fast is a nice way for me to reset. That's the route I took 6 months ago. I can't even say I have a specific diet or anything, just as close to 0 sugar as possible. I don't drink alcohol at all, so that helps too. Results are far from spectacular. I didn't lose a ton of weight, 193 to 175, and most of the weight loss occurred in the past month of quarantine, maybe for other reasons, primarily a rice and beans diet for a month. Interestingly though, my weight was shrinking slowly each month, even if my weight wasn't going down. To me, that means I'm getting healthy since I was reducing belly visceral fat. Weight is secondary. No sugar diet in my experience is giving a golfer the ability to never get a bogey, double, triple, etc. included. It is still difficult to get a birdie, but if you do, your score goes down and you get to keep it. No sugar does seem to make it easier to not gain weight. I can't say it'll be like that for everyone, and I'm not saying my weight doesn't fluctuate, only that my trend line does seem to be primarily flat or downward if my appetite decreases from time to time. There is a theory that metabolic syndrome is a high fructose diet. We don't exactly know what it means for your metabolism to be broken. The prevailing theory is insulin resistance. But if sugar puts you into that metabolic state, maybe eliminating sugar fixes your metabolism and makes it possible to self-regulate your weight without bullshit calorie counting, macro tracking, or weighing food. I'm not saying they don't work, I'm just saying I don't want to waste my time doing any of that. You can read more of Richard J. Johnson or Robert Lustig's work to get an idea of the theory. That's how I did it too. My real problem is that once I start, I won't stop. I will eat an entire bag of candy. I have polished off over 10,000 calories of pure fucking candy in a day before. I still majorly pig out on days that I eat, but I have substituted 3,000 to 4,000 calories of candy into 2,000 calories of ice cream. Same here. Once I start eating, I get really snacky and I just want to keep going for the rest of the day. It's easier to just not eat all day and then eat what I want for dinner. When I start eating early, I'm more likely to come off the rails and eat like shit all day. I'm more amazed at the people that can actually have food in the house and not eat literally all of it. I can't order a pizza and save some for tomorrow. If it's there, I'm eating all of it. Basically, my weight loss routine is don't buy it at all. I'm hoping eventually my brain resets and allows me to store food for later, but I don't see it happening anytime soon. I still can't process the people who box all their leftovers for the next day and actually wait until the next day to eat it, or the people capable of churning food down when sharing it with others. Who are these people? This is me. Let me tell you, it's not easy. Like, at all. Especially if someone in the house is eating everything and you're saving yours. My husband eats his half of a pizza box in one sitting, usually, and I eat 1 or 2 slices and save the rest for the next few days. This isn't something I've always done, but I wanted to and resolved to make it happen. I have to put my whole mind into not thinking of the food and remembering that I'd rather be satisfied each day with a small portion than disgustingly full for one day. I try to do this too, but my partner eats my dang leftovers, resulting in me often feeling like I need to eat it before he gets to it. I had this problem for a long time. We had to legit talk about it because it was such a big deal for me. It's better now, and my husband only eats my portion if I explicitly say he can. But yeah, I would give in to it at first and eat everything too. This was one of my development personality eating problems. I grew up in a cash-strapped household with 3 siblings. If you didn't eat it now and all of it, someone else would eat before you had a chance to get back to it. I had this problem with my ex and alcoholic beverages. He would buy a 6-pack of hard beer and I would get wine. I would churn in after a glass or 2 and he would stay up drinking the rest. It drove me nuts and I tried saying something, but he felt that since he bought it for me, then it was okay for him to drink it without my permission. Needless to say, we did eventually break up, but for a few other red flags as well. I've kind of become somebody who can do that. I grew up in a finish your plate and don't waste food household, and I had to train myself out of that mentality. I can be a pretty bad binge eater, so I'd over order with the intention to save for later. I would inevitably eat more than originally intended, to the point of being uncomfortably full and having to put the rest into the fridge due to physical impossibility of finishing it. After countless times of unintentionally making myself miserable, I've slowly had to stop myself before reaching that point. Have also developed the habit of portioning out food for myself to eat now and immediately putting the rest away, since I'm often too lazy to reheat stuff and don't keep a lot of snacks around. Probably not a healthy way to go about it, but I guess I had to learn the hard way. It was a slow process with a lot of starts and stops and lapses. Helps to not have external pressures to eat more, like people around you, like my parents, who may directly or indirectly pressure you to finish everything. Also, learning to remove temptation and or add roadblocks to eating more than what you had portioned out is a good habit to get into. I used to limit my cheat days to the weekends, but to be honest, having to shelter in place has really amped up the need to extend what's in my fridge and pantry, as well as reduce the temptation towards eating out. Not sure if it'll be a long-lasting change after this is all over, but it's certainly making a big difference for me over the past few weeks. It's also led me to reinvest in old hobbies which provide good distractions from some cravings and hunger pangs or boredom eating. I never buy candy or cookies. My significant other always has candy on his person. However, I never met a potato chip I didn't eat. He could care less about chips. I had no problem at the office because the snacks were always donuts and muffins and cookies, but now I'm at home and can eat a family-sized bag of chips throughout the day. I don't get the appeal of sweets, thank goodness. Maybe because we never had them growing up. Personally, I'm mostly the same way. I love savory things with a bit of dark chocolate here and there. We were poor growing up, so I never really got chocolate or junk food particularly often, and I think that's part of why I eat it, even though I don't want it that much. I have no desire to eat it, but part of me is like, well, we don't know when the next time we will have candy is, so do it. Try to break that habit is definitely hard. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit jealous. It took me years to undo the craving of sugary junk foods my parents, mainly mom, bought for snacks. Always had little Debbies of some form, Swiss rolls, oatmeals, cream pies, etc. Plus 3 to 4 different bags of chips, at minimum. Plus all the pop. Growing up I used to finish a 12 pack every 2 to 3 days. Now I still drink pop on occasion, mainly different flavors I haven't had before, but I don't crave it anymore. I just buy a bottle on occasion for something different to drink. I don't buy any sort of junk food regularly. The chewy Chips Ahoy cookies with the recessed chunks do get the best of me on occasion though. The closest thing to junk food I buy on a regular basis is the Snack Pack lemon pudding cups. I still eat a lot of calorie dense foods. Bread is my biggest killer here. Not a huge pasta fan, but for a quick lunch it's hard to beat the sandwich for me.